It's 10:36 in the morning. It's still minus 25.3. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah. I got down to 32.8 last night. I got up this morning and made the stove, filled the wood stove up quickly. Kind of set my alarm so that I could get more coals into it before it's, the coals are going out, but I want to put more wood into it before it goes out, right? And I come downstairs. I'm like, I better turn the tap on in the kitchen for a while, let that run just to make sure. And then I look at the, it says minus 32.2. I'm like, it's so cold in the house. I didn't bother taking a video at the moment. Minus 25.7. Let's make sure she starts before we take the charger off. So I started the truck yesterday, let it run for 3 minutes, and I turned it off. It came back out 25 minutes later, turned the key on, the battery's like, nope. It's like, I should have let it run a little longer, I guess. Okay. Frozen solid, oh my god. It has been deathly cold. Boom. As always, you're a great trucker. Had you so long. Never fail me twice in a row. That's the thing. Appreciate that. All right. Get all this shit off of here and go have some lunch. It's National Weather Person's Day today, which is good because it gives me a chance to talk to you guys about this channel. And as you know, Interior Weather and Wilderness Watchers, that is weird. How did that happen? I do not understand that at all. Okay. So, as you know, over 10 years ago, I started Interior Weather and Wilderness Watchers group on Facebook. And I have given a lot of myself to my community because I believe in it. I believe in giving what I have. And I always had this sort of hope that if I'm just generous enough, maybe the world will be generous enough back to me. Unfortunately, that's not what's happening. Especially since Trump won the election, my views have gone down the channel, and I get it. People are like, we don't want to hear your politics, Joey, but I gotta speak or I'll go crazy. It's my channel. I've always done this. But I know a lot of you have relied on this channel for a long time. You've relied on Interior Weather and Wilderness Watchers for a long time. So I'm just asking you for extra support right now. I mean, if you've been given supers on the videos, that's not for you. If you're already a Patreon member, it's not for you. If you are a regular supporter of any kind, even if you're Lana who brought me a whole bunch of food, hey, you're good. Like you've done more than enough for me. I give a lot of myself, even to the people who are with me in my podcasting. I'm always shouting out everybody else. I'm always trying to promote everybody else. And maybe what I'm not good at is always promoting myself, as I'm being so extra nice about it to everybody. So just putting that out there to everybody, like if you're involved in the show, if you watch the show, tell a friend, tell people, help me grow the channel. So right now I'm going to Diggy's Diner. I actually can't fucking afford it, but I've been inside the house since Friday during this cold snap, except to go see the mayor yesterday. So gonna go up and get myself a lunch here on. I desperately need to just see my friends and get out of the house, have a little change of pace here, and there's nothing else to do right now in this cold besides what I'm gonna go do. And look, there's even people here today, so that's good. All right, time for a little flight today. This real cold air should make for some lift. A little bit of cloud out there, so it's just warming up enough today to get a little bit of moisture into the air and have it condense. And that'll probably sink back down pretty quickly when the sun goes down tonight. But neat, makes for a bit of a foggy, pretty scene out here towards the Bowron today. Just the most beautiful mountain range in the region, most absolutely. What a fantastic place. I love living here in Wells, BC. I was having a lot of trouble getting stable flight there. Everything in the drone seems to be fine and balanced. I'm not exactly sure why, but we'll go somewhere else, and maybe it's just an air current on this side of the mountain that's I'm running into. Maybe if I go out and about I'll find it just a little bit different somewhere else. The air seems to be rising right now. You can see a little bit of convection, a little bit of cloud forming. For how cold it's been, that's really quite remarkable to see any cloud at all. So, you know, nice sign that maybe the coldest of the cold nights is behind us. Not that it's going to be beach weather anytime soon. Okay, I'm gonna go get some water. Desperately in need of water, which reminds me of a question that somebody asked me. And that was, Joey, why is the snow so crunchy when it's this cold out? And that's because, as we know, extreme cold, the high pressure has no moisture in it. It cannot hold moisture. That temperature cold air, moisture dies very quickly when it tries to get into there. So, as you noticed, have you ever done that trick where you throw a pan of boiling water in the air when it's minus 35 out and it turns to snow instantly, and you see the air cannot hold the moisture at all. It just instantly turns to snow, but none of that moisture is able to escape. It all does. All of it falls back down. So what happens though, you know, you can see this with my wood pile. A bunch of my wood was actually very wet when I put it in the pile there this fall, and then it got rained on a lot and stuff like that, so it didn't really help its case. But now that wood is dry, just because the cold air sucks the moisture out of everything. So dry air sucks moisture out, and that's what you find even in the summertime when you're in those hot spells and it's very dry. And again, the dry air is hungry for moisture. It tries to suck it all out, and as much as it can, even if in the case of the wintertime it can't actually transport or hold that moisture, and it will eat it. And of course, that's why you see hoarfrost and things like that in the mornings at this time of year, because a little bit of moisture that comes out during the day like this, you know, there's just enough sunlight to get things moving a little bit. Which reminds me of my second question. People are saying, how come it's so warm in the sun? So there's the distinction between air temperature and the distinction between radiant temperature, right? The solar energy that you're getting from the sun. So solar energy is quite strong. Now that we're in February, it's good when we get these cold snaps in February, for me, I always say, because at least then in the middle of the afternoon you get that radiant energy that's pretty strong, whereas at late December, early January, there's almost none of that. The angle of the sun is too low in the horizon, and most of that radiant energy is just bouncing off and back into space at this latitude, right? And especially if you go further north, there's no sunlight whatsoever. All right, so now we're getting back to a time where the sun's coming slowly higher up into the horizon every day, and it's having more radiant power, but the air temperature is still very cold. You have Arctic air that's invaded us from somewhere else, and the sun can't counteract it enough to make any real meaningful difference to actually warm things up substantially. But when you're in the direct sunlight, it can. So you'll see water moving. It's minus 14 and there's water dripping off your roof and stuff like that, and that's, you know, to be expected. Radiant energy is still doing its work. So anyone who tries to tell you that solar power doesn't work in the wintertime is wrong, but certainly there's much less to play with. But if you look at solar units that I was getting on my weather station, I think they're pretty high the last couple of days, like 4.6 or something like that. So getting, you know, not a summertime worth, absolutely, and only for a certain length of the day, but nonetheless, that solar energy is quite strong even then. Okay, time to get down to Slide Mountain, change the battery in the drone, and see if we can find a better flight. And if not, then we're gonna have to take the thing and look at the drone and see if there's anything that's contributing to the flight characteristics being off, like maybe tighten up something here or there. But I mean, everything looked fine, and it started fine, and it kind of got up there in that air, and it just did not want to settle down whatsoever, no matter what I did. Well, that second flight went a lot better. I think it was a calibration problem I was having there. So anyways, I stopped at the water hole to get my nice fresh mountain water, but it's frozen completely over. I didn't feel like going and bashing my way through it. The snow up to my knees and higher. No problem, no problem. We'll just go back to status quo until it gets just a touch warmer here. That water will not stay frozen. It's really moving underneath that little spring. And I wanted to get closer to the avalanche chute, but I couldn't find a nice sunny spot, and I kind of knew that was a problem here. I wanted to get a flight up towards the avalanche chutes, but instead had to come over here where there was satellite connectivity, you know, on the wrong side of the mountain there. So that ruined that. But anyways, I told you all about freeze drying. You know, that's why you're snow. So it's like the sun gets on the snow at this time of day, and it's like I said, the radiant power of it actually changes the properties of the snow just a little, and then the excess moisture that's there gets drawn out in the dry cold, so that just leaves the crunchy bits behind like that. And you've probably had that experience if you lived in the West Coast, where it's, not a totally overcast day. Like I can hang my laundry up today, and then you find it's the air's so humid that your clothes are wetter when you go to take them in at the end of the day than they were when you hung them out in the first place. And so the air has too much humidity, and so summertime, if you throw a bunch of water up in the air, it'll hit the ground, but the movement of the water through the air will introduce humidity to the air, right? Oppositely, in this 35 below cold that you'll get first thing in the morning, you throw a pot of boiling water up in the air, and none of that moisture will stay in the air. It will all come back down to the ground, right? So you've seen that experiment before? Okay, let's go home. But also, that's why just the arrival of a little bit of moisture in the air, a little bit of moisture has shown up and condensed into cloud up there. And that's the first time we've seen that sort of like this in a number of days. And what that tells me is that we're almost through the coldest of the cold that we're going to go through, right? So I would doubt very much it'll be minus 32.8 when I get up tomorrow morning. Although it's not out of the question. No, it's not out of the question. But I rather would think that this cloud coming in is a bit of a sign of just a subtle change that will bring us up a couple degrees at least, and begin our transition to a little less extreme. So likewise, the way that the cold draws the moisture out of the firewood at the house that I had and has now made what was damp firewood dry, it also sucks the moisture out of your face, and you'll find you're very dry right now, especially because I got to put my face in front of the wood stove a lot with the door open to feed it and make fire and do this. So get a little bit of vitamin D, I guess, from the wood stove, whatever, but it has the effect that I'm very dry. I feel very parched and felt very dehydrated last night just sitting in the house doing nothing. So it just gives you an example. This dry air, it eats moisture, it eats it out of you, even if it can't do much with it, especially in the temperatures we've been having. But hey, a little bit of cloud, so that's a change. You just got to pay attention to those subtle changes that you see in nature, because they're always telling you something, whether you're cognitive of it or not. Anyways, you're watching Joey on the Cariboo Weather Dude YouTube channel, and I'm like what you might call a semi-prepper. Like person who's, the cupboards are pretty stocked for the apocalypse. And I would do more of these trips, but right now I can't really afford to, so that's just more reason why, if you really like the content to be different than just me sitting there in the house yammering about the world, join the channel, send something down, put something down, help me grow the channel, help bring more people to it. And the more success I have, the more I can really spend my time trying to capture totally unique and beautiful things that are happening out in nature, and less time sitting in the house. It costs money and gasoline just to go out the door in a big truck like this. So that's the other thing. So then you're like, hey, you're like that Cariboo Weather Dude guy. He's like one of those semi-preppers there. He doesn't believe in the direction civilization's taking. Thinks that humanity's on a very dangerous course, socially, politically, environmentally, spiritually. And so I withdrew. I came out to the mountains here and decided I want to live a quieter, simpler, easier life. And whatever goes on down there in the lowlands, I can't control much of it out there, but at least I can have my own little happy place up here. So, when you're judging me for my politics, keep in mind you're watching a guy who ardently has believed since the time he was very young that civilization is not a sure bet. That just because it exists now and is operating doesn't mean it will always exist and always operate. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I believe any one thing is going to happen, or that, I don't have any conspiracy about it in a larger sense. It's like, well, there's a list of things that could go wrong, and on my list was pandemic, proven. On my list was wildfires, proven. On my list was fascist takeover, the United States going through incredible political turmoil, check mark. Nuclear war, not a check mark yet, but that's a real amazing possibility still for the future of humanity. Ecological collapse, check mark, it's happening. Global warming catastrophes, check mark, they're happening. So there's a lot of reasons why someone like me might want to just withdraw from society, try to live near a good water source, try to live in an area that's cleaner, simpler, more peaceful. There's no fucking crime in Wells, no one's stealing my shit. Occasionally we've had one bad apple around town, we find out who he is and he's gone, and that's the end of it. it's a stress-free life here. So you're asking a guy who is going to sit there on YouTube and tell you about what he thinks about the world and the direction things are going. And you're going to say to yourself, oh, that guy, he's a crazy left-wing kook. But careful with that. Like, because I think us semi-prepper guys are looking less crazy than maybe we did 20 years ago. All of us are saying like, hey, when shit hits the fan, I don't want to be one of the ones, left in the dark out there, or not knowing how to cope, or not having mentally prepared for it even, right? Not having allowed myself to imagine that this nice, stable life we have can't just evaporate, and even then, the problems of the down world there, the outside world, down the valley, the amount of stress and bickering and backstabbing that's going on these days, it's like my life is so much better off for just not being part of it, and for seeing things as they honestly are. And, I really hope that I can just keep being your weatherman, and it's National Weather Person's Day, support the channels, keep me filming, keep me talking weather, keep me talking about Canada, society, the environment, keep me talking. This is all I really want to do. And I think there's value in it. There's value in it. There's always value in people with different opinions, different ideas, different ways of looking at things. There's value in listening to them, and I hope that whether you agree with everything I say or think, you don't have to, but I hope you find it at least entertaining and, somewhat triggering of your brain to decide to operate, because you're having to decide what you think and feel about the things I'm saying.